Hello, everybody, and welcome to Devis Scottish. Today we are discussing our top 10 films of all time. So this was an interesting one for me because I wouldn't describe myself as an avid movie watcher. So I really had to think about what movies mattered to me growing up and stuff like that. And additionally, growing up, we always had those like school things where like, oh, share these things about yourself, like favorite song, favorite movie, and stuff like that, right? Well, I was always very like cautious to ever actually share real information about myself growing up because I was like, is that what will people think of me if I say this movie or that movie? So I would always just typically say the most famous like movie or song or anything else I could think of at the time so that I would fit in and not be weird. Um I did that a lot growing up. So I really had to think because I was like no one's really asked me what my favorites are and I had to really think what are the movies that matter to me growing up and stuff like that. So some are going to be representative of the series and maybe not particularly that film. Others are going to be like, this movie was a one off that really mattered to me. So let's get into it. Into the Spider Verse. That is a movie that mattered a lot to me personally, because I got to watch it with my mom, which we both loved it. Um, the animation style was really cool. I love all the characters in it. I love the music in it. I love the message of the movie. It's such a good movie that I always recommend it to people. Um, Now, I will say the second one was good, but not as good. We're still waiting on the third all these years later. So hopefully, eventually, that'll come out. The next on my series is The Dark Knight from the Batman trilogy. Uh, so I had to think about this one because I really like Batman Begins as well. I think Batman Begins is very inspiring. The Dark Knight, I don't think anyone debates who's fans of the series that that's probably the best in the trilogy. Um, I don't know. I go back and forth between whether I like The Dark Knight better or Batman Begins better. I love Christian Bale as Batman. I think he is the best Batman, and I don't think it's well. I'd say he's the best Bruce Wayne, but Batman as well, kind of when it comes to live action. Um, I think the only other contender for like best Batman would be Kevin Conroy, which did the iconic voice of Batman that like everyone knows. So he's the only other Batman that I would maybe give it to. I love those movies so much. Like I've watched them ad nauseum, like growing up, and even like these days. Like I remember when I was going through cancer and stuff. Like my stepdad at the time was like, "Oh yeah, I always think that this Batman's the best." I'm like, "You gotta watch the trilogy." He watched the first movie. He liked it so much. He asked me if he could take the rest of the movies to watch for the rest of the day, and he stayed up literally until like 4 a.m. that night watching all of them. And I was like, "That's awesome. I'm so glad he liked them as well." But yeah, so I really like The Dark Knight. I think Heath Ledger's Joker in that movie was amazing. I love Two Face. I love all of that movie, and I like that that movie had the question of, you tried doing a good thing, but now people are mimicking you. What do you do about that? Because that's not a good thing either. Like, what's the path forward here? And I like the idea that Batman is ready to lay down the mantle of protector to Harvey Dent, and then obviously everything gets fucked up because of the Joker. It's a great movie. So next on my list, Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. Now, for me, Dead Man's Chest and At World's End is tied for like just amazing. Like I love those movies so much. Davy Jones's like whole performance is iconic. I love, love, love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I love being out at open sea like that. Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow, everyone loves. There's not really debate on that. Now, debate whether or not Johnny Depp should come back because there's a lot of things that happen with Johnny Depp after these movies. that I'm not here to discuss that because I don't have enough good thoughts about what that should be. So we're just not going to touch that. You know what? Maybe I should get into the next controversial one right away. But I did want to just finish off by saying, like, I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like, I go back to them every so often. They are just such iconic movies. And, like, I love watching them when I go on vacations to, like, more tropical areas or areas, like, close to the, like, water and stuff like that. It just always makes me think of them. And I, like, man, such great movies. Like, I love them so much. Yeah, let's get into the next controversial one so we just get those out of the way. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So everyone knows that J.K. Rowling is not a good person these days. Like I think that's not really in debate for most people. Um, but you know the Harry Potter movies were so good and like they meant something to like basically most of my family, at least on my mom's side. Like my mom absolutely loved them. My brother loves them. My grandma loves them. My aunts love them. My cousins love them. Like the Harry Potter movies were just so good. And I know when I was going through cancer, one thing I particularly did is I wanted to go back and re-immerse myself in that world because I hadn't seen them ever since I was like growing up, and I fell back in love with them all over again because they are just so good. Like almost every actor in those movies was like amazing, and the fact that they stuck with so much of the cast like over the years, and like you got to see them all grow up like that is something that like I don't know if it'll ever really be repeated like that. It's just such a cool thing. Like I adore those movies as well. Prisoner of Azkaban I chose. Now there's like two main phases of like two different main tones of the Harry Potter series. There's the first two which are very happy, very bright, very colorful, very orchestra based. And I love those movies a lot. Like I love Chamber of Secrets particularly of those. And then you have the more darker tone, more serious things are becoming more serious. And Harry Potter: The Prisoner of Azkaban is kind of the transition movie into that darker tone. Um, I think both tones are fun. I think it's really just what you're looking for at the time. Prisoner of Azkaban though has so many great things in it. Like you get a lot of like the great cast. You get to see just like so many iconic moments that are just amazing in that movie. I'm trying to avoid spoilers as I talk about it as well. But yeah, that movie I love the Harry Potter movies is the main thing, which is why that's on there. I'm not super pumped that they're remaking it into a TV series because I agree with the sentiment. You know, if a series or, you know, was bad, you should remake it. Try to do it better, do it justice. But when a series is really good, you kind of should just leave it. Unless you're bringing something that's very new to the table and is making it just leagues better than it was previously. I don't know. Or even like a different interpretation that's different enough that it is something new, right? But it's really not for this series, and it kind of sucks for that. But I'm not here to discuss that. Next on my list, Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars. Man, oh man, do I love this movie. I'm gonna say so. Like people have talked about it before on the internet. Each generation has like their own kind of idea of Star Wars. There was the generation that grew up with four, five, and six, and the original trilogy, and they absolutely adore them. I was part of the generation that grew up with one, two, and three. So Hayden Christensen, Ian McGregor were like my Star Wars heroes growing up. Like I loved those guys, and I love Revenge of the Sith so much. You get the peak of the Jedi Order. You get the iconic lightsaber duels. Count Dooku and as like no Sir Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. General Grievous is so cool. All of the fights in that movie are amazing. The music is amazing. It is a very tragic tale with the fall of the Jedi Order, the Republic, and Anakin. Like, man, oh man, and the memes. The community has made so many memes of that movie, which just furthers the enjoyment of all of it. Like, it is by and far my favorite Star Wars movie. I would think my second favorite Star Wars movie would be Return of the Jedi, but I don't know, Revenge of the Sith is just so much more for me. Like, I am, if someone told me they were watching Revenge of the Sith, I might stop what I'm doing and just sit down to watch it with them because I love that movie. Return of the Jedi, it's like a 50-50. It's like, oh yeah, I might like watch a couple scenes and I'll probably get up and go do other things. I don't know with Revenge of the Sith though. I might sit down and just watch the whole thing with you. So I love that movie. That is my by and far my favorite Star Wars movie, which is kind of breaking the rule where I said like, you know, when I put a movie on there, it represents the whole series. This is not the case with Star Wars. I specifically love Revenge of the Sith the most. That is by and far my favorite. So next on our list, the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie. I chose specifically the first Avengers movie because I think at that point it was easy to follow what was going on in all the storylines. It was such a cool thing for like at the time. I don't think there was a superhero movie that had a team up quite like it. Like it was just that iconic at the time. And I remember going to the theaters. I still remember going and seeing it in the theaters for the first time. I love the team that they had. Like we had such an all-star team at that time. And like yeah, it was the kicking off point for other Avengers movies, and I like a lot. I don't think there's an Avengers movie that I disliked, but you know, I love a lot of the Marvel cinematic stuff, but that movie specifically was like the one where like it all came together and it became possible that those could do it. That it was just such a cool thing. So yeah, I love the Avengers movie. That's on my list. Now this next one was from my childhood specifically. The Iron Giant. I remember loving this movie so much that I would watch it on repeat. It was such a good movie, and like I think it still holds up. Like because I rewatched it more recently. I love that movie so much. I love that you have this giant, imposing death robot, and his whole thing is he wants to be good. He wants to be a hero. It's heartbreaking, and I love robots in general. And I think this is part of the start of that influence is the Iron Giant because it really did hit me just that early on in my life. I don't know. I adore this movie. I think the animation still holds up. I think the story is still amazing, and it's just heartbreaking and tragic and good, and I love it. So next on my list is Limitless. This was kind of a weird poll because this was a movie that I don't think was like so iconic that everyone would know about it, but it was a movie that hit me in a like good time in my life, like when I was a teenager. It was so influential on me that like I wanted to try to be like the main character, Bradley Cooper's character in the movie. Like I thought it was so good. Like I absolutely adored that movie. And I remember even like in high school, I looked up what those like pills were, if there were any like real world equivalent. And they had like a few different sources saying that this is what it was based on and stuff. So I specifically went on the internet and found a place I could order those pills. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of ADHD medicine, not no narcolepsy medicine that's supposed to like wake you up, like keep you wired kind of thing. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was some kind of medicine that like you typically need a prescription for, but I ordered it on the internet so I could just get it. And I was like taking it whenever I was in like high school to like wake myself up, and I would always feel so wired, like my eyes were like wide open. Like I was like I could feel the energy, like everything became so much easier to do, and I would like take those regularly. Don't recommend that. Don't go ordering random pills off the internet and start taking them. I just was very fast and loose with everything I did in high school because I was like, fuck it, I only live once. I'm gonna go do this and that. Had no real regard for like my future health. And you know what? Maybe that came back to bite me as I ended up getting cancer. So, yeah, no, but I love the Limitless movie so much. I still think it's so fun of a concept of like, what could we do if we could like have our brains operate more efficiently and stuff like that. And they ended up making a TV series after that movie as well, based on the same concept. Because it was called Limitless, and it followed the events of the movie. And I remember loving that series as well, but it never ended up doing well and ended up getting canceled. So it was unfortunate, but I love that as well, and I felt like it was such a niche pull for like movies and stuff like that. So I personally loved it. Next on my list is Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. Now, this movie particularly may not be the best DC animated film, but I had to put one in there because I love DC's animated films. I think where Marvel knocked it out of the park with their live action stuff, DC absolutely crushed it when it came to the animated movies, and it's not even close. Like Marvel's animated stuff is like leagues and bounds behind where DC's animated stuff is. Like DC's animated stuff is so good. I chose Justice League Crisis on Two Earths specifically because when I was first getting into all of that, that was something recommended to me by a random like video store guy, and man, he was. I think he was right. It is a good one. I love the Justice League movies because they are so hopeful and like you really get the feeling of the good guys good will win in the end, and it is such a good thing. And I know I say that I do know that there's like a new era of like Justice League movies, or there was a newer one where like all the Justice League members ended up dying or facing a horrible fate, and then it was like, oh Jesus, yeah. So typically the movies that I watched of the animated series was Good Will Win, and they had like so good things. Like there's so many good ones out there. I know Under the Red Hood was another favorite of mine when it came to the DC animated movies. They had so many good ones, and I always love watching the DC animated movies. I don't know if there's been a DC animated movie that I disliked. Like they just do so good on all of them. I love them so much. So next up and last on our list for the top 10, our top tens, was Kick Ass for me. So Kick Ass is another superhero movie, which I did notice as I got to the end here. I had a lot of superhero movies on here, but Kick Ass was a really interesting one in the fact that it was like there are no superpowers. This is literally just real people trying to dress up in superhero costumes and try to be real world superheroes. And like you see the brutal reality of like what would happen to someone if they try to do something like this, and like you see the main character just get the absolute shit kicked out of him and like literally nearly die on multiple different occasions. And I don't know, something about how dark and gruesome and real this movie was really stuck to me, especially growing up. And I obviously took the worst idea from this movie growing up as a teenager in the fact that I was like, oh, I should try to be a real superhero. That's so cool. And that is literally the whole message of the movie is do not try to be a real superhero because you will likely end up dying. And man, teenage me was just like, no, I should try to do that. That's awesome. I remember talking to one of my friends and being like, we should do this together. Like, we'd be so cool. And he was obviously fully on board with it as well because he was someone who thinks a lot like me. And it would have been so bad if we ever really tried to do that. But yeah, no, it was, man, I loved it. I made a lot of poor decisions as a teenager, which I think most people do, but I love the Kick Ass movie so much. I still think back to it as like that was one of the most influential movies of me growing up. Like that and Limitless were two big ones. Some honorable mentions that didn't make it the list. I remember loving the Rocky series growing up because I watched all of the Rocky movies and fell in love with them. The Back to the Future movies, which I would imagine would make Scott's list. I'd be frankly shocked if they don't. I love the Back to the Future movies as well. They also had a really big impact on me. Or not, I mean, guess not as much of an impact as well as say like I absolutely adore those movies because they happened at a time that I can remember clearly in my life. Um, is there another movie I want to call out? Wally. I love Pixar movies. Wally particularly is like my favorite Pixar movie. Um, Castle in the Sky. I've loved all the Studio Ghibli movies that I've seen. I love Castle in the Sky specifically because that was my first one, and that was the one that got called out to me as like, oh, you should watch this because robots, and I was like, oh, absolutely, that's awesome. Um, what else is there? The old Disney movie. I love that. I love the Go the Distance song. I love the classic era Disney movies as well. Like, there's so many good ones I could call out. I think that's enough, probably honorable mentions off the top of my head that I thought of because there were those ones that I like really thought about that I really like. I love those as well, but I think we have enough good movies here that were. I think I did well for naming the ones that mattered to me the most. And I don't like how many of them were full franchises and less actual movies. The thing is like I don't know. I never really had to decide favorites. So those are my movies. I hope you enjoyed hearing about them, and hopefully Scott had a good list for you as well.
Wow, I really do love films, but you know what's better than loving films? Having a top 10 list of your favourite films for you to enjoy. Hello everyone, I'm Scottus, but you knew that already, and we are going to be talking about my personal favourite films, the top 10. Much like the video games list, there's so many games and so many films that I personally enjoy. But this was a hard one because I don't think I've ever made like a true top 10 list. I had a top 5, but that was really me pushing it because basically this is what people would ask me on dating apps. They would be like, oh, what's your top 5 favourite films? I'm like, top 5? Come on, let me do a top 100. There's a few on this list. I'm not doing honourable mentions this time just because I think that would just go on forever. But there's a few on the list like, I know this is a favourite of mine, but it just didn't end up being there. Such as Alien. Love Alien, but I don't know, just something about it didn't feel right about being in the top 10, even though it was in the past. I don't know, maybe I just need to revisit it. But I have the list here because some of these I don't actually own the physical copy for, and that's insane for me because of how much physical media I personally have. So this is in no particular order. I'm not going to even try to... I'm just checking if there's anything on the back of this, like, Scott's a loser, which is implied, that's written on my face, but I don't want it on paper as well. But yeah, this is in no particular order. I'm just going to go in just basically the order that I came up with it. If someone were to say to me, what is your favourite film, and I wasn't feeling like going down the rabbit hole of like, oh, well, this is a foreign film that I've enjoyed. I'm not going to do anything like that. If I want to just be quite like, oh, this is a film that everyone knows, typically I will say Back to the Future. I think that is the film that got me into films. Like, I love that film. I think it's such a cool idea. It is one of the few films that I have gone to the cinema when they've re-released something. I'd love to do more of that. I think the other one I've seen, I'm looking for it on here because I know it's here, is Cowboy Bebop the movie, which is in its wrapping because I've never owned a physical copy for it. Yeah, I own this, but not some of my favourites. But yeah, Back to the Future, that is on the list. That is, it probably is number one because I do love it so much. But again, then I look at some of the other things and like, yeah, but this makes me feel this way. I think that's the thing with films, is I'm going to feel differently about different films. Some people, like, I'm watching films to laugh or to be excited, and they don't watch films to be sad, but I'm watching it for the whole range of emotions. So Back to the Future is on the list. Then I really love a film called Fargo. Everyone that knows me is like, yeah, Scott loves Fargo. I watched it initially because of the Fargo TV series, and I was wanting to prepare for that. And I'm a big believer in, like, you should watch what came before trying to watch the new thing. I can do that. I know a lot of people can't because like, oh, this looks old. But I'm so glad I did because I think my family thought the Fargo TV series, when it initially came out, was going to be a remake, but really it deviates and it's more of a we are cut from a similar or the same cloth, but we're doing a different story. And really love Fargo. I think Fargo is great. Series 1, Series 2 of Fargo, I need to revisit those, but I also remember really liking them. But yeah, the film Fargo just gets better and better, especially as we enter a true crime era with a lot of people enjoying that sort of thing. And funnily enough, it took me watching I'm going to call it a lesser film, but it's just a film I didn't like as much. BJ Novak, the guy from The Office, he made a film, I think it was called Vengeance or something, and that has like a whole point about like the disastrous implications of true crime. And after I saw that film, I did have that thought of like, hey, this is interesting that Fargo from 1996 was having a similar message of people maybe buying into true crime and wanting to believe this, and how you could get wrapped up in these criminals, even though like you almost people that are in deep to true crime and love that whole thing, they can get wrapped up and almost be parasocial about it when they are killers. So I love Fargo in terms of the filmmaking, the story. There's so much you can absorb from it. I think it's a really well written film. Just wonderful. It's my favourite Coen Brothers film. I think they can be a bit hit or miss for me. I think sometimes they can be a bit too much like, look at what we've done. Okay, you don't even understand what you're writing there. But I think Fargo, one of a kind, is amazing. Then I have Lilo and Stitch, which is probably, funnily enough, this is the only one. No, there's another one that I don't have a physical copy for. I need to. I rewatched Lilo and Stitch in 2019. Maybe I watched it again later. But that was my first time revisiting it as an adult. I just loved it. I loved the emotional moments. I loved all that. It's my favourite Disney film. I think it looks amazing. It is just beautiful. Did not watch the live action remake. Not into that. Don't like any of the changes that I've heard that they've done to that. But could always watch Lilo and Stitch. I think Lilo and Stitch, what you'll find with a few of these on here is Lilo and Stitch strikes that balance of a character being an outsider, or in the case of Lilo and Stitch, they are both outsiders and finding love in each other. That's something I've always related to. I also like Hercules. It's not a top 10, but I do like Hercules, and him finding his way. That was a very Scott journey of like, I don't know where I'm going to belong, but I'm going to find where that is. So yeah, there's that. Now this next one is going to be like they're going to be in the same spot. They are two films in the same franchise, but hey, I think they're great films for different reasons. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is the fourth one, and then Mission Impossible Fallout. Now, I'm going to put my paper down just so I can explain this with full hands. If you have not seen Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, it is perhaps the most accessible Mission Impossible film. It is funny, it is action-packed, it has amazing stunts, it looks great. It is just such a fun film. Is it going to change your world like Fargo or other films potentially on the list? No. But is it an amazing experience? Like, oh my god, how did they film that? How did they do that? This is so much fun. If you want a really fun film, watch that. And I know some people are like, I don't like Tom Cruise. I don't want to watch Tom Cruise do anything. Here's the best part about Mission Impossible. It is watching Tom Cruise hurt himself over and over again. If you don't like Tom Cruise, this is the film for you, because you're watching him just get dunk and get hit in the head. I love the scene in Mission Impossible 4 where he is climbing that building. Amazing. I can just watch that scene. There's such an amazing part where it's when he's initially going out and it's just filmed in such an amazing way. I keep saying amazing because it is amazing. And he looked like you see the ground and the distance and just that transition and the way that they filmed it. That's not something you can cheat. I love Mission Impossible because you can't cheat that. There's so much there, and yeah, they're not all great films. The first one is more of like an espionage, and that's good in its own way. The scene where he's on the wire and he's like, trying to do all the things there, so tense. Watch that scene again, you will not be able to look away. Mission Impossible 2, not a good film. People like the third one, I do not. I can't stand the third one. But then from 4 to how many? There's 8. I don't like the 8th one, but to 4 to 7, great films, fantastic films. So yeah, watch Ghost Protocol. But if you're into the series, go back, watch the others, get the information you need because there is some relevant things in 3. You could skip 2 if you don't want to watch 2, don't watch 2. But 3 you should watch because it's relevant to Fallout. I would argue, no, Devin, I don't mean that Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout. I would argue that Mission Impossible Fallout is potentially the best of the whole series, even better than 4. I like 4 for its own reasons, but Fallout has so many stunts, has a bit of a slow start. It does have a slow start, but once you get into it, it is just non-stop action. It is amazing. It's like, it will not let you go. And it is so well shot. The scene where he is falling and he's doing the halo jump, amazing. The fact that he just did that and they filmed it on a technical level, how they actually operated that scene, so good. Even when it's not action, it's amazing to look at. There's a part where one of the villains is in a van and the water sort of comes in. I've always loved the transition to that. I think this isn't going to change your world as well, but there's enough character development there that's like, oh yeah, there's some interesting things going on. I've argued before that this is where you could have ended the series. Even with where it ends, or you could have changed the ending and sort of killed him. But it's amazing. It is fantastic. The next one is also good, but it's a part 1, part 2 situation, and part 2 is not as good. But yeah, Mission Impossible Fallout, from the halo jump to the running in London, has the best running scene in the whole series, because if you know what happened to Tom Cruise, oh my god, it is amazing. It is amazing. And there is a part, and I won't tell you where because I want you to watch this film, but there is a part consistently, no matter how many times I watch this film, no matter if I've just seen it like an hour ago and I rewatch that part, I gasp. I know it's coming and I gasp. It is just that amazing. It is amazing. Watch Mission Impossible. Again, can't encourage it enough. Even if they are just stunts. It's an amazing, spectacular stunt sequence. And yeah, the plots might not make sense. I do think Fallout has the most coherent plot. I can actually follow that. I know what they're doing. They have condensed it to a point where it's very clear what is happening. Some of, I don't actually know what's happening in Ghost Protocol, but I know, the emotions of it, oh, they're going here to stop this guy to do that. But if you ask me what the actual plan was, I'm like, I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. It's funny, it's good action. That one's good because it's the whole team doing it. You have Simon Pegg and Jeremy Renner. They're doing all the fun stuff. There's a great sequence in the Kremlin. This has just amazing stunt after stunt, and it's great. Watch those films. Now moving on to Game Night, which is my favourite comedy. Back to the Future could count as a comedy. I do think that first one is a good comedy, but has some adventure moments. Game Night is one of the funniest films I've ever seen, and has a personal place in my heart. This was a film that I watched with my mum when she was battling cancer for the first time, and I remember she had lost all her hair at that point, and this is a film I really wanted to see. And I had said to her, like, if you don't feel comfortable going, we won't go. And she really wasn't. And all I said was, we're going to the cinema. That's all we would be doing. We wouldn't be going out for dinner. Once, like, you can wear your wig going in, and like once you're there, or your little hat thing that she had, once you're in, no one will be looking, no one will be seeing you. We'll sit right at the back of the cinema. And she was like, okay, I feel comfortable to do it. And again, I wasn't trying to talk her into it. I was just trying to give her the confidence, because she wanted to go. She thought the film looked funny, and she was laughing so much. There were so many great moments in that film. There's only one part that I'm like, it doesn't really work. I mean, it does, but it's maybe a bit too forced. But other than that, I think it's hilarious. I think it's such a funny film. There was a point where I watched it on a plane, and then I watched it basically 2 days later, and still loved it. And then I watched it more recently. I say more recently, but that was 3 years ago, and watched it basically. I think it was twice in the span of 2 days, but maybe it was 3 times. I really like Game Night. I watched it again a few months ago when I was moving into my new flat, and again, it's great. It's wonderful. If you haven't seen it, can't recommend it enough. Then after that, we have a film that no one is going to watch. I don't expect you to watch it. There's only one person that will watch it, that watches these videos, and that is Devon. And that is Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. The reason I'm saying no one will watch this is, in order to understand it, you will have to have played Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VII is a wonderful game. It is a game I recommend everyone play if they are into JRPGs. Everyone knows that they should play it. But the thing is, a lot of people that watch films might not be gamers. One of my best friends in the whole world cannot stand games. And I've told them about this film. It's like, you will never watch this film. I've shown them clips. I'm like, this looks great. But I can't properly expect them to watch it with me. And I wouldn't even want them to, because I would have to explain the whole game and why it's relevant. This film works as an amazing sequel to 7. And you're probably wondering, why do I like it so much? This could be its own video, but in short, I watched this film with another best friend. This is a gamer. Thought it was okay. Thought, okay. And then I replayed 7, and then rewatched the film. I thought, oh, this is good. I really like this. I get it more now. Then I had a bad breakup, and really felt like I wasn't a good person. I felt guilt. And I saw this film through the lens of what happens when you have escaped your abuser. And in the case of the film, Sephiroth is Cloud's abuser in some ways. And there's the strength that he has at the end of the game when he finally beats him. But what happens after? What is life goes on? And that's how I was feeling at that point, rewatching the film, was, yeah, I've beaten my enemy. I've done that. But what happens to me? I still feel this guilt. I feel awful. I feel like I've let people down. I'm not the person that I've wanted to be. I'm not a hero. And rewatching this film helped a lot. I still feel some of those emotions, but it helped to be like, what happens after that? And I think there's a lesson Cloud learns through that film, which was, he didn't just get lucky beating Sephiroth the first time. And that's what a spoilery section in the film is all about, where someone says, you already beat him once. This should be easy. Don't want a quote like that. And I really relate to that. And it's funny. So Sephiroth has a theme called One-Winged Angel. Me and my friend Michael, because he knows this fact and how I relate to the film, we have now called that song the One Winged Abuser. And it plays whenever, my ex comes up and I'm dealing with things like that. So yeah, it's a really, I think it's good action, but unlike Mission Impossible, I get something from this film. I feel something. I think it just is a personal film for me, honestly. Moving on to another animated film, one that I've never quite been able to articulate why I love it so much, but just instantly I did. It's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Love stop motion. I've always loved Wallace and Gromit, and didn't love the new Wallace and Gromit that came out, but still can appreciate the stop motion. I just love knowing that, like, just individual parts. If you watch this film, it's on Netflix, watch it, then immediately watch the behind the scenes. If you were like, yeah, that was alright, it will make you love that film even more. It's just great. It's a wonderful behind the scenes. I think for me, what I like about it is all the passion, all the craft that went into it. I love the world. I love how, like, bizarre it is. And then I think, even though I can't really remember the music, like, I always kind of forget it is a musical, I don't mind it. I think it's fun, it's funny, there's just a lot to it. It's a very sweet film. The part where he says, like, about being a burden, like, that always gets me, and then Jiminy Cricket, played wonderfully by Ewan McGregor, being like, some people, sometimes they say things they think they mean in the moment, but they don't really mean it. It's great. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's just wonderful, wonderful animation. Next, we have a film that I didn't grow up on. I didn't grow up on Pinocchio or even Having Children. I mean, a lot of these I didn't really, but it surprises me, this one. The Karate Kid. Would not have been able to tell you, I guess 10 years ago, that this would be a top 10 favourite film for me, because it's a sport film. It's just, oh yeah, the Karate Kid doing all that. But it all started when I watched the first series of Cobra Kai with my mum. This, I think, was the year that she was just recovering from cancer. So it's that summer, came back from university, was spending time with her, and I was like, hey, do you want to watch this with me? Yeah, like, I've never seen Karate Kid. Actually, that didn't even come up. We got to the end of it, and I was like, I don't actually think I've seen The Karate Kid. I think I just thought, like, well, I know it, because it's the whole wax on, wax off thing. But no, it's more than that. Again, it's another film that I relate to, because Daniel is an outsider. And a lot like Daniel, I can be very passionate and sometimes be maybe quick. I'm not quick-tempered because I don't lose my temper, but I can jump into action and be like, hey, back off, if someone's in trouble, and I can maybe get ahead of myself because of that. I really like Daniel. I like Mr. Miyagi. I like the mum. There's so many just random bit characters in this that I'm like, oh, that's sweet. I like. There's like some woman that's like, oh, keep the change or something, and I'm like, oh, I like her. I like Johnny. I think there's so many just fun characters. I don't even really like the other Karate Kid films that much, but I like this one. I think it has a special place because I did watch it after watching Cobra Kai and the first series, and then I just spent that summer like loving The Karate Kid, and I've watched it a few times with my mum. I just think it's sweet. I love rewatching that film. I think it's just fun. I don't know. Then we have one of the last films on the list. Actually, the last thing, because it is the thing. I watched this film, but like, I needed to watch a Halloween film. It's like, you know, like, I don't love horror films. I find myself more interested in horror games, and I think that's more because of in a film, you are not in control. Like, if you're just watching things happen to characters, I can take myself out of it. In the same way, recently I did that abseiling, and people were like, "Were you scared?" I'm like, "No, not really. Like, I didn't really feel anything there. Although maybe I should have with what I'm about to say." But in horror games, because death there, like the creature getting me could mean losing progress, or there's that tension that is scary. So I'm not normally a horror fan, but The Thing, oh yeah, I love The Thing. I think The Thing is such a cool concept. Just not knowing who you can trust, and the creature design, and all these wonderful things, not knowing what's happened in the ending. It's great, it's wonderful. I think, honestly, the only issue I have with it is the opening has like a bit of text. I think it's either a bit of text or you see the ship like crashing. You don't need that. Just leave it. I don't think it's needed at all. It surprises me when this film. It makes sense why it didn't do well in the box office. Fair enough. It's a weird film, but it not doing well critically. People are like, "Oh, yeah, that looks bad." I remember I watched this with my mum and dad. You have to rewatch this film. It's amazing. And they're like, "Oh, the effects look dated." I'm like, "No, they don't. They look amazing. It looks fantastic." I need to get a physical copy of The Thing. I honestly, looking at this, the only ones that I don't have are Lilo and Stitch and The Thing. I need that in my collection. It is such a wonderful film. I want to know all the behind the scenes of it. I think when it came out, I did watch the prequel. haven't seen it since, but would maybe want to revisit it just to see how bad it is. I've heard that that also had a practical design to it, but then the studio is like, "Hey, make it CGI." I can't sanction that. But hey, films are great, and I think you should always try and explore different films because there's a wide variety here. There's so much I couldn't even include. I loved the film Parasite. Would love to revisit that film and see, like, do I like it again? There's so much. Beau is Afraid isn't one of my favourites, but I do love to think about that film. Like, it's wonderful. Films are great, and I get criticised a lot because I'm very strict with my film ratings. Like, to explain it to people, a 5 for me is that was good. Like, it was fine. It was fine. I watched it. I was equally parts entertained and equally parts bored. I watched a One Piece film that was exactly that. It was like, hey, some of the action was good, a lot of it was boring. Okay, 5. But then anything above a 5 is me saying, "Oh yeah, I'm liking this." So if the film gets an 8, that's good. That's really good. But yeah, I'm looking at my shelf. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of good films in here. Like, Edge of Tomorrow. That's a wonderful film. Yeah, it's just I have to make sure I put this in the right spot. I think it's here. Yeah, really, really love films, and I think I want to watch a film tonight. But I can't because I'm recording these in advance. So maybe I'll watch a film. Who knows? But you know what I do know? I don't actually. No, just in the video.